What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about 5 compact smartphones that you guys should check out today. And you could say that these phones have small screens because compared to most phones these days, they are at 6.8 inches. And that's one of the big complaints I get is, can you recommend any phones under 6 inches? There's not really a ton of phones, so you're limited, honestly. But I do have some, and I've used them all, and I have smaller hands myself, so these are all I can confirm very comfortable. The ASUS Zenfone 9 is literally the best compact smartphone this year. It is just awesome. It checks all the boxes off in my opinion. It feels great in the hand, aluminum frame. It does have a plastic back, but it is a textured back, and I think it still retains a premium feel and look to it. It's IP68 dust and water resistant. It has a 5.9-inch Super AMOLED display. It's HDR10 plus, 1100 nits peak brightness, 1080p panel, 445 for the PPI. Guys, this is a beautiful bright panel, and like I said, it's very easy to one hand. This phone is running Android 12 with Zen UI, and Zen UI is actually pretty close to stock Android. It just has a few like a little ASUS things, but it's actually very close to stock Android, so it's very clean looking. Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus chip on here, and then this phone can basically game pretty much anything. So Fortnite, Call of Duty, PUBG, it plays it at high settings. This is a beast when it comes to gaming performance. Now you have a 128 gig and 8 gig version. I believe that's the version that I have. And you also have, what's very cool on here is a headphone jack. Not many flagship phones have a headphone jack. This one does. Not only that, but it has some amazing stereo speakers as well too. Very loud bass quality. Just overall really good full sound for such a small phone. You also have NFC on here. The fingerprint scanner is physical and it's side mounted. That works really well. And this phone, in my opinion, does have very good cameras. It's a 50 megapixel standard, a 12 megapixel ultra wide. And yes, it's missing a telephoto lens, but honestly, the cameras are really good on here. It's 8K 24 and then a 12 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 30. You're getting phenomenal shots on here, very high quality, flagship quality shots in my opinion. So I was really impressed with the image quality on this phone. And the biggest surprise here is that battery life is actually good on this phone, and that is a massive surprise because you can't say that about most phones that are small. This has a 4300 milliamp battery, 30-watt charging, easily gets through 6 hours of screen on time. I would argue even 7. So this phone is just a phenomenal buy. Alright guys, if you can't afford the Zenfone 9, the predecessor is very good as well, the Zenfone 8. So this is a very awesome phone. Again, this one actually has a glass back aluminum frame, and it feels really premium in the hand. Also, still the same 5.9-inch display as Super AMOLED HDR10 plus, 1100 nits peak brightness, 1080p, 446 for the PPI. Literally the same display, same dimensions, all that good stuff. And it's a very easy phone to hold. This phone also got the Android 12, and this phone has the Snapdragon AAA processor. So again, really no difference from the 8 Gen 1 to the 888. This one still plays games the same. It still runs the same as well too, as far as just smoothness and everything. So you're not really going to find a big performance difference. You will with benchmarks slightly, but again, virtually the same. You also have 128 gigs of internal storage, 8 gigs of RAM on this one, and you can find this for like 450 bucks. So like I said, you can't afford a $650 phone, then go with this one. This is a little bit better priced. This one has stereo speakers as well too, pretty much the same quality, very loud bass, very good mids and highs, a full sound. And then this one also has the headphone jack as well too, which is nice. Fingerprint scanner is under the display, so that works really well. And then this phone has pretty good camera setup as a 64 megapixel standard with a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and then it shoots in 8K 24, and then a 12 megapixel standard that shoots in 4K 30. And image quality is also pretty good in here. You guys can see the pictures kind of speak for themselves. I thought the image quality was good, great color, good dynamic range. And again, this one doesn't have any type of telephoto lens, but honestly, if you can get over that, it takes some great shots. So I was really impressed with that. Now the battery life is not as good on this one. It's 4,000 milliamps with 30-watt charging. It's not as good as the Zenfone 9. So this phone typically ran around 4 hours and 30 minutes, which is fine again, but that's not technically a full day of use. So definitely keep that into consideration. Alright guys, next we got the iPhone 12 mini, and this phone got a pretty nice price cut at around 300 bucks on Amazon right now, and it's pretty impressive for that price. I mean, 300 bucks for basically a flagship phone still. And this phone, again, very small. It is a glass and metal phone. IP68 dust and water resistant as well too. And then you also have a beautiful display on here. It's a 5.4-inch Retina XDR OLED display, and it does do 1200 nits peak brightness. It's 1080p 476 for the PPI, and it's a very nice display quality wise. Really nice to look at, really nice to watch videos on. And like I said, 5.4 inches, this phone is extremely comfortable for anybody with smaller hands. There's not a ton of reaching that you really have to do with this phone. And what's great about this phone is for the $300 price point, you get the Apple A14 chip. This phone flies, so it's extremely fast when it comes to just gaming, bouncing in and out of applications. Anything you throw out this phone will perform excellent. So really impressed with performance on this phone. You also have 64 gigs of internal storage and 4 gigs of RAM on the base model. If you pay a little bit more, you can get the 128 gig version as well too. Now you also have stereo speakers on this guy as well. They have pretty good bass quality, and then you also have NFC with Face ID as well. So the highlight on this phone, I think the cameras are still really good on the 12 mini. The 12 megapixel standard with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It also shoots in 4K 60 with a 12 megapixel selfie cam. That also shoots in 4K 60. I still think you get really great, flagship quality shots. And again, I want to go back to the price. $300, very impressive shots, excellent video. It takes basically, flagship quality photos here. So again, no issues, great dynamic range, great detail, great ultra wide cam. Just a very impressive phone. So the only downside to this phone is that battery life is definitely not all day. It's somewhat decent. I can get around close to 5 hours of screen on time, but for a phone to last a full day, typically it's going to be around that 6 hour 30-minute mark, and this phone just can't get it. So battery life, just know that you might have to bring a battery pack if you're a harder user. If you're a lighter user, you have to be conscious of keeping a charger around with this phone. Now you do have wireless charging with the MagSafe, and then you also have just your standard wireless charging, so that's pretty nice as well too. But overall, for $300, extremely powerful, easy to hold, really nice design. There's just a lot to like about this phone. I think the only downside is battery life is just a little bit subpar. Next is the iPhone 13 mini. This is another awesome smaller flagship phone that I think you guys would really like. The price is coming down on this phone every year, so it's at a pretty good price right now. I think it's sitting at around $600 to $500. And I really like the design on here. Again, looks really good. Aluminum frame, IP68. It has the XDR OLED display on here. It gets up to 1200 nits peak brightness at 5.4 inches, 1080p 476 for the PPI. So overall, again, a high quality, very beautiful display. Really, the only thing this display is missing is like high refresh rate. But this phone running iOS 16, it has the Apple A15 chip, extremely powerful chip, guys. Absolutely beast. If you buy this phone, you really won't have to upgrade for years and years to come, because it's just going to be blazing fast. You also have 128 gigs of internal storage and 4 gigs of RAM on here. The stereo speakers are actually pretty impressive on here. Great bass quality, very loud. NFC is on board. Face ID, of course, is here. You also have a very good camera setup, a 12 megapixel standard and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It basically takes flagship quality photos, guys. You can basically put it on par with like an iPhone 13, 13 Pro. It's 4K 60 on here for the front and back with a 12 megapixel selfie. So overall, you already know what you're getting into. Great images on the 13 mini. Now this phone does have actually pretty good battery life as well too. This has a 2438 milliamp battery, and then you also have wireless charging with the MagSafe wireless charging. Basically, this phone can pretty much do about 6 hours of screen on time. For me personally, especially if you're not like a heavy gamer, battery life is pretty good thanks to that A15 chip. Alright guys, next is the S10e. So you can find this for around $200. I still really like the design on here. It's aluminum frame, it's glass back, it's IP68. You also have a 5.8-inch dynamic AMOLED. It's HDR10 Plus at 1080p 438. Again, another phone that is very easily one-handable. And then you also have Android 12 with One UI 4.1. This phone is currently in its security patch stages as well too. You have the Snapdragon 855. I did a gaming test, guys. Check it out. This phone still plays games really well. Call of Duty, PUBG, it was like blowing through it like it was nothing. You also have micro SD card support on here, so you can expand the storage, and you also have a headphone jack on here with stereo speakers, NFC, Samsung desktop support. All the bells and whistles are actually still on here. You also have a fingerprint scanner side mounted. It's physical, and that works really well. And you also have on this phone, I think, pretty good cameras. Now, I'm not going to say the best cameras. This is probably, compared to the rest of the phones, it's probably like number 4 on the list of the best cameras. It has a 12 megapixel standard and a 16 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 4K 60 on the front and back. And then you have a 10 megapixel selfie cam. It takes very good shots on here, but if you're looking for the best camera, I would look at one of the Asus or one of the iPhones. But I still think it takes great, shots, especially in good lighting and stuff like that. I honestly don't see any issues with this phone. You also have a 3100 milliamp battery. It does have wireless charging and reverse wireless charging, so you can charge up another device. But again, this is one of those phones that can only get you around 4 hours and 30 minutes of screen on time. So you're not going to get a full day of use out of this phone. But that's pretty much it, guys. Be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next